580 Sports Talk on a Victory Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Victory Monday. Unless you're a K-State Wildcat fan. We got a lot to get to. Chiefs defense. Is their defense legit? What's wrong with the offense? KU squeaks by. We got plenty to get to on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Jake LeBon, Brandon Orzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Thanks for stopping by. Royals baseball also get a winner. I forgot about the Royals. They just won. How about that? The Royals, winners.
Winners of 5 of the last 6. And they're getting hot at the right time with the postseason just around the corner.
Exactly.
Dan, I might need you to sit down for a second. I have something to tell you.
There's nothing. It doesn't mean that they're
This
in
is
the
when you want to
postseason.
be playing your best baseball. The end of September.
Exactly.
Getting hot for the tournament.
Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-729-9429. Also, hit us up on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Type in 580 Sports Talk. So simple, so easy. Let us know your thoughts today. We'll get into a little Big 12 coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Big Red. Spoke to the media today. We'll get to that coming up at the bottom of this hour. Chiefs get the win. They are 1-1. They avoid the dreaded 0-2 start. And we are going to get to that, but there are some kind of big news when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. They've created some cap space, and Patrick Mahomes has reworked his contract. Now, I know everybody on the social media world is freaking out a little bit, like Patrick Mahomes now up with the top. He's getting paid like he should get paid. Yes, but he was guaranteed this money anyway. It was just going to be over a time span, and now it's going to be shorter. So what happened is that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes restructured the agreement to give him $210 million between 2023 and 2026, the most money in NFL history over a 4-season span. It's now all guaranteed instead of like the rolling guarantees that were in place. It will lower the cap $2.6 million. The Chiefs had to do that because they only had like $100,000 in cap space as is. So now that gives them at least a little bit to maneuver going forward because they didn't re-sign Chris Jones and lower his cap hit. So that's the big news, if you will, nationally. But the local ones here know that this really doesn't change a whole lot. It just moved his money up, and it's fully guaranteed instead of the rolling guarantees, which the rolling guarantees were going to be ending up being full guarantees. So to me, this is much to do about nothing. And really don't care. Does he need money? Okay, great. Give him the money. Like,
yeah, that's why
who cares?
People like that doofus Florio getting all up in a
no
tizzy about this. Like, I don't like, good for him.
Yeah,
but
they're going to pay him.
Is he going to give some of that money to me? Yes or no?
Yeah, don't care.
Boy,
the answer is no. So it doesn't.
Yeah,
doesn't really do anything for me.
If you are hearing this, may I have $20?
Yeah.
Patrick, I know you like going to high school football games on Friday nights. I know for a fact you do because you have admitted that you and your wife go do that.
He was at Blue Valley
kid.
West.
Yeah, Nagy's kid.
Nagy's kids at one of the Blue Valley schools. Yeah.
Just hanging out in the end zone.
Make a little extra trip west.
Yeah.
We'll see you at Washburn Rural this week.
Yeah, how about that?
See you at Bowen Glaze Stadium Friday night.
So
bring $20.
Bring cash. I will take Venmo, though.
Yeah. Do you think he has Venmo?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Is he at that level where it's like, it's $5, who cares? Or do you suppose he's on the LeBron James style? It's like, oh, am I connected to the internet?
I guess that's
am
true.
I not Wi-Fi?
Venmo's a lot of microtransactions, and when you're worth millions and millions, and like when your
hundreds of millions,
your net worth is in like the 9 figures. I don't know how many microtransactions you're doing.
I don't know,
like,
man.
Is he breaking off like $50 to one of his buddies from Texas Tech for their fantasy baseball league entry fee?
I think yes, because he wants to be treated like a normal person.
Yeah.
See, I feel like,
and he's got and Brittany does because babysitter.
Do you think they paid? They could have paid their, if they did like maternity photos or newborn photos. Could have paid those with Venmo.
Oh, 100%.
We paid our wedding photographer with Venmo.
Yeah, we did that for all of our wedding vendors, I think.
So.
He also said recently, I don't remember who he was talking to. There's one of his teammates financially related, I think. He said, I ain't spending for things anymore. I'm a dad of 2. He's like, I ain't spending money on it anymore. I got to worry about that.
Hey,
any
all
other
too real.
Any other sports talk show in the world can give you breakdowns of X's and O's and stuff. We're asking the real hard-hitting questions here on 580 Sports Talk. Does Patrick Mahomes use Venmo?
I think he does. I'm going
to lean yes, now that I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so.
He does. Do you think the Chiefs' defense is legit? Everybody's talking about the Chiefs' offense. Oh, dear. You want to know what? As of this moment right now, I don't care about the offense because is this Happy learned how to putt? Are we talking about the Chiefs have a defense? Ladies and gentlemen of Chiefs Kingdom, your team has allowed 2 touchdowns in 8 quarters to 2 offenses that are pretty good considering the Lions just hung 31 on the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, that doesn't take much.
But still, you got to do it. And the Jags hung a ton on the Colts, and they couldn't do squat against this Chiefs defense. 2 touchdowns allowed. The Chiefs held the Jags to 0-4 in the red zone. Chris Jones is a monster. Only played in half the snaps. George Karlaftis looks like he actually might be an above-average player. The corners played well. They tackled well. You're only allowing 2. You didn't give up a touchdown in an NFL game. To me, if that is the criteria of elite, then the Chiefs right now played elite against the Jaguars. No touchdowns? That is so hard to do.
And think about how Jacksonville got their points, right? 9 points, 3 field goal drives. One of those started inside the 25, if not inside the 20, after Richie James lost that punt in the sun. One of them was a 2-minute drive at the end of the half where Calvin Ridley made, under what I thought was decent coverage, a preposterously good catch to pick up the largest chunk of those yards. And then there was one sustained drive that Jacksonville put together that ended up in a field goal. Everything else, the Chiefs were turning them aside in every which way. They would do it with the good pass coverage. They would do it with pass rush. They were good again against the run on early downs. They forced Trevor Lawrence and that offense into a lot of third and medium, third and long, uncomfortable third down distances for an NFL offense. It was a really well-rounded performance. And that was the thing that I think I would be most excited about is it wasn't just Chris Jones wreaking havoc, which he did. And it wasn't just, a good day for the other pass rushers, which it was. And it wasn't just a good day, great day for Trent McDuffie and the rest of the cornerbacks, which it was. Or a really good tackling day, or a game against a bad offense, which it wasn't. It was just really good defense, really high-level defense. All 3 levels of the defense did something really well. And that's how you hold an NFL team without a touchdown for 60 minutes.
And this is not supposed to happen with the Steve Spagnuolo defense. Spagnuolo defenses normally get better as the season goes along, and they peak near the end of the year. Think 2019. Remember? 2019, it wasn't, the best start. And then I remember things changed when the Chiefs beat the Chargers down in Mexico City, and it started to click after that. But when you look at this Chiefs defense, take a look at what they returned from last year. We saw flashes of Karlaftis. He's improved from last year, gained some weight. Chris Jones was back. Dana is still, a solid rotational guy. You had Bolton, you had Gay. Look at the secondary. They were all first-year guys last year. Even Reid was. Reid, Brian Cook, the 3 corners. They're all gotten a little bit better. And now this is what you get. We knew that this defense had a chance to be better because of how young they were last year. And sometimes corner is a volatile position. Hey, I might be good one year, not good the next year. But through the first 2 games, the corners are playing pretty darn well. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I think, is better than what we anticipated starting this season, at least with production. Gotten a couple pressures. And then your BMOC, Chris Jones was an unblockable force in this game. Really had 2.5 tackles for loss, or 2.5 sacks, but credit to Trevor Lawrence. He threw the pass backwards. And by the way, the Jags are super lucky that occurred, that it rolled forward and it was only a 2-yard loss instead of maybe pick it up and you could end up, turnover or something like that. That doesn't count as anything. That's just a backwards pass by Trevor Lawrence. Chris Jones doesn't get any credit for that, but that's almost like a sack. He batted down a ball on 3rd and long that looked like it was going to set up to be a good play. Karlaftis got in there. Like, I know people are always talking about the offense when your whole entire identity. We talk about, what do you hang your hat on? We say that all. You got to be good at something. What are you good at game in and game out? And it has been the offense. Well, right now it's not. Back of the baseball card says the Chiefs will figure it out. Are there some issues, some concerns? Yes. What level those are on, a little different. But right now, this Chiefs defense, I'm excited about it. Patrick Mahomes has never had a top 10 defense in his career. What if he does now?
Well, it would be pretty funny if the offense stunk. Like, not funny if you're a Chiefs fan. Like, that would actually suck. Because I will say this. I'm not at a point where I don't care about the offense, because this team's not winning a Super Bowl if the defense is the best unit on the team. I will say that right now.
No, but to me, the bigger story
is the fact that the defense is playing this well this early.
Yeah. Now, if the Chiefs offense stinks against the Bears, that's 3 games. Now I'm not there yet to say
no,
the problem.
You shouldn't be. No.
But if the Chiefs offense stinks against the Bears, then I will get more, DEFCON will get a little bit higher. But right now, to me, I am way more excited about the defense than I am concerned about the offense, because this is the dream right now. The Chiefs have a good pass rush, a motivated pass rush, a secondary that is underrated, in my opinion. And I think the addition of Drew Tranquill makes this linebacking core 3 deep. That's what I'm excited about. We can break down the issues on the offense, but the flowers and the roses need to be given to this defense, because they put together a very good defensive roster that nobody is talking about. Nobody's talking about. Everybody's talking about the Browns defense and how good they are. Now they're in action tonight. We'll see how really good they are. And the Cowboys defense. It ain't hard to shut down Zach Wilson and the Jets. Come on now. Let's be real.
Let's be fair to Dallas. They have Lawrence Taylor on their team. Like,
he's really good.
Micah Parsons is the best defensive player.
Yeah, that's.
I hope Dallas realizes that. You saw that Nick Bosa contract. Add a couple million to that, and that's what it's going to take to sign Micah Parsons.
Jerry can handle it.
I was going to say, if you're a Cowboys fan and you say, I don't know about that, stop watching football. Just stop. You don't know what you're doing. Stop watching.
No,
that's that man.
That dude is Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah,
that dude is just unbelievable. Different level than anybody I think we've seen since LT. But yes, to finish your point there, Jake, if not finish your sentence exactly, the Chiefs defense has played at a very high level, and we wondered last year, as it improved in the second half of last season with so many first-year guys. McDuffie was a rookie. Brian Cook was a rookie. Jalen Watson and Josh Williams were rookies, and those guys made critical plays last year. George Karlaftis was a rookie and made critical plays. Nick Bolton, a second-year guy, super critical to that defense. And we wondered, are we seeing the start of an upward trend for this young defense? Because this team, I think in week 1, when you broke it down by the average age of players, it was either average age of players on the 53-man roster or average weighted age based on snap count. The Chiefs were one of the 5 youngest teams in the league going into week 1 or after week 1. And a lot of that youth is on the defensive side. And if that trajectory is a continuance of what we saw in the second half and through the playoffs last year, then this is absolutely going to be the best defense of the Mahomes era. And we've seen what the Mahomes era looks like with average to below defense. It looks like championships, playing for the AFC championship, winning the Super Bowl. That's what that looks like. Mahomes with a top 10 defense in the league. I don't know. You might, if you're a Chiefs fan, want to keep that championship Sunday clear on your calendar. You might want to.
And that's the goal. Just get to the title game. See what happens there.
With the Chiefs' full accompaniment of defensive linemen. So not even including Charles Omenihu, because he'll be there in a couple of weeks.
Why you add another good pass rusher?
But with Chris Jones there, with your best defensive player there, I'm going to invite you guys to look at the Chiefs' schedule. Tell me how many legitimate tests for the defensive line remain. How many?
Well,
Because I'm going to go through
the
it right
Bears'
now.
O-line is not good.
Bears, bad. Jets, bad. Vikings, bad. Broncos, bad. Chargers, mediocre. Broncos again, bad. Dolphins, better than expected. Still, their absolute peak is mediocre.
Well,
now Tua throws the ball in a half a second, but still.
That helps.
Eagles, really good. That's a test. November 20th. Mark that down. Raiders, mediocre. Packers, really good. December 3rd. Write that down. Bills, mediocre. Patriots, mediocre. Raiders, mediocre. Bengals, below mediocre. Chargers, mediocre. Those are the offensive lines the Chiefs played this year.
Yeah, we're strictly talking about offensive line here. We're not talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah. Those are the offensive lines that the Chiefs are going to face the rest of the year. There are two that are undeniably really good the rest of the way.
And they've already played, but they played already one of the really good ones in the Detroit Lions. And they got pressure.
Well, that's my point.
Without Chris Jones.
Without Chris Jones, yeah. So that the rest of the way, there are two. There are the Eagles and there are the Packers. November 20th and December 3rd. Everyone other than that is a mediocre offensive line. That's it. That's a good spot to be in.
Great spot to be in. It really, really is.
I mean, that's what makes things that much easier on Trent McDuffie and on the safeties and on L'Jarius Sneed, is having that consistent pass rush up front.
Receivers are going to get open if you give the quarterback time. Like they are.
Right, exactly.
Case in point. Last play of the game that the Chiefs really made, that was the biggest maybe play on the offense all game, right? Mahomes had time, leaked out of the pocket to the right, found a wide open Sky Moore for the game-clinching play. If you give the quarterback time, he will find these guys throwing the football. And most quarterbacks will, unless you're Justin Fields. But that's what I think is the biggest takeaway in this, is the offense. We'll get to that at a later time, but the defense needs to be talked about. We got a lot to get to. Short and show. The Royals get the victory. Got what is wrong with you. We'll hear from head coach Andy Reid. A lot of headlines happening today. KU survives. K-State does not. That'll be coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. A lot to get to here on this Victory Monday.
Time for What Is Wrong With You on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you the rest of the way today. Our What Is Wrong With You, as always, is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal at Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Dan, why don't you go first with our first story today?
Would be happy to. We are going to Alabama for some high school football
All right.
drama. We had Jackson Olin hosting Minor on Thursday night in Jefferson County in Birmingham, Alabama. And the band played on and on and on and on and on. And even after the requests of police, the band played on. The band director at Minor High School is a gentleman named Johnny Mims. He's been the band director there since 2018. After the game between Minor and Jackson Olin ended, Birmingham police officers were in the process of clearing out the stadium and observed that both bands were still performing. Officers spoke with both schools' band directors to end the performance so students and attendees would leave the stadium. Jackson Olin's band stopped performing. Minor's band did not.
Uh-oh.
Officers approached Mims and began asking him to get his band to stop performing. Mims did not comply and instructed his band to continue performing, at which point the officers decided to take him into custody.
Ooh.
That led to a physical altercation between Mims, Birmingham police officers, and Birmingham City School System security personnel. During the altercation, Birmingham officers attempted to get Mims to place his hands behind his back, but he refused. The arresting officer alleges Mims pushed him, at which point the arresting officer tased Mims, ending the physical confrontation. Mims was treated at the stadium, then taken to UAB Hospital. After being discharged, he was booked into the Birmingham City Jail and subsequently bonded out. Warrants were issued for disorderly conduct, harassment, and resisting arrest.
I feel like we went way overboard here. We did not ever need to get close to this point.
Yeah, like any story that ends with the band director getting tased is probably like everybody involved needs to look back and say, how did we get here? And why was it necessary that we got here?
Damn, man. What's going through your brain?
I want to understand why they wouldn't stop playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about too.
Was it like a battle of the bands drumline type of thing where like, no, we're going to keep playing. We're going to play longer. I don't know who won the game. I don't know if it was in celebration or, we might have lost the game, but we're not going to lose this, standoff like Nick Cannon and Drumline. Drumline, sneaky good movie, by the way.
Great movie. I remember watching it in 7th grade music class.
It used to be a mainstay on TNT. I don't think I've seen it on television in years.
Nah,
but
been a while.
TNT used to run it a lot.
Nick Cannon is...
Shout out to Orlando Jones, the 7 Up Yours guy.
Yeah, Nick Cannon's not necessarily persona non grata, but I don't think networks are like tripping over themselves to put him on TV these days, aside from MTV.
Like, it feels like that could have been a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it certainly did not need to get to the point of we're going to arrest the band director. Because I can't imagine the plan was to sit there and play all night.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. I feel like, again, when the punchline is the band director was tased, then everybody involved needs to look at how we got there. And maybe, was the taser entirely necessary? Probably not.
I'm going to guess not.
Probably not.
That's my assumption on the matter. My story is going to take us to Florida, where a viral video reveals the moment that a beach trench project turned into an out-of-control torrent that prompted police intervention. The footage shows an unnamed man energetically digging a pathway at a Florida beach that connected a nearby canal to the ocean, which understandably attracted some amusement from onlookers. You ever been to a beach and seen someone doing something kind of out of the ordinary, like digging a gigantic hole or making some sort of large sand art? People will come around and look and kind of gawk for a little bit and say, oh man, isn't that cool? So with dozens of spectators surrounding him, some even enjoying a little bit of a dip in the water flow that this man had created between the canal and the ocean, it seemed harmless enough. People were just having fun with it. But the summer frolicking quickly took a turn as the water flow intensified, transforming the small man-made trench into a raging flood on this Florida beach. And we have video here, actually shared by Russian state media for some reason, RT. It is unclear when exactly this incident happened, but essentially what this guy did, he was just scooping with his hands or small shovels to make this, 100-foot long pathway, essentially, to try to get a new water flow going. Well, he apparently underestimated how strong the water flow from the canal was. And you can hear or see in the video, there's a caption on it that says, water finally broke. and it's like they built a new ocean. It is just raging and pushing kids into the ocean.
You never want to do something described as building a new ocean.
No, not great.
That's dangerously close to playing God here.
Yeah. The video that was shared mentioning police intervention. However, it is not depicted aside from one police and fire officer standing in the water without shoes on. Looks like he might have just gone for a dip after work. And again, the video is very funny because it just goes in little segments. It's like, here is a couple seconds of him building it. Here are a couple seconds of, hey, here's the water. And then a couple seconds of, oh my God, there are big tidal waves coming and sweeping our kids out to sea.
That is a substantial trench. Like it is, quite long. And they worked very, very hard on it. I can expect the effort about halfway through the video.
After it opened up, people were actually like sitting on boogie boards and body boards in the water. I mean, it looks like a dam almost. I mean, the water is really rolling through there.
Yeah, it does. That's a little investment into infrastructure now and again would be nice. Instead of shutting it down.
Yeah. Like, hey, maybe we can turn this into something. Maybe we can, water powered electricity for a local hotel. Just something to think about, Florida. What's your vote for today?
Oh, for my vote today, I have got to go with the band director getting tased. Like, were they?
Yeah.
Like, were they doing the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald or something, or Inagata Davida, like a really long song? And he's like, "Look, just let me finish the song."
Maybe. Yeah, playing Inagata Davida, 17 minutes.
Were they playing Neck? They play Neck. I bet they would play Neck at Birmingham, Alabama. They play Neck.
They were playing the full version of 2112 by Rush, the overture and everything.
They were playing the Sea Murder song that when the Alabama band plays it, they call it "Down for My Defense."
Dun, 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 dun. I was just telling Abby about that the other day because we were watching a game. It was the K-State game, and Mizzou's PA system played the Timmy Trumpet song. What's it called?
Oh, the one that Edwin Diaz came out of the bullpen to last year for the Mets.
Yeah, if you've watched a baseball game or a baseball highlight in the last 18 months,
it's on MLB The Show this year. Like, you can't avoid it.
And to be fair, when it pops up on the show, I get pretty hyped. Like, all right, now we're feeling it. But they played that every single third down for their defense. Yes. Every single one of them, they played it. And I said, damn, this is getting really annoying. It's really on my nerves. And I was saying that, KU plays a different song. Usually they rotate through a handful of them. I know Tennessee for a few years used third down for what? Like turn down for what? Yeah. And then Alabama used a song with a slur in the title by Sea Murder. And she could not believe that any of those things were real.
Again, the Alabama band calls it "Down for My Defense." You can guess which of those words might be replaced with a certain slur that we cannot repeat on the radio.
It is a great song.
It's so good. Like as like just the beat, like what it's really good for is like the introduction of starting lineups.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I think they used it at the NCAA tournament one year. Like it's flawless. Like
that's actually even funnier, I think.
They might have been in Des Moines. I swear I heard it at one of the games in Des Moines this year.
Maybe it was. Like you've heard. That's another one that you've heard. You might not know the name of the song. You have heard it.
You may not be well versed in Sea Murder's musical catalog or any of the No Limit Soldiers for that matter. But if you have been to a sporting event, you have heard "Down for My Defense."
Dun 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 dun. It's a great song.
You've probably gotten crunked "Down for My Defense" too, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm with you. Our tased band director is today's winner of What Is Wrong With You. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard and the sponsors of What Is Wrong With You. Coming up on the other side of this timeout, we're going to hear from Andy Reid. What did Big Red have to say after the Chiefs' Week 2 win? We'll tell you next on 580 Sports Talk. Chiefs won on Sunday. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
Hope you enjoyed them playing at noon. You're not going to get it again.
Hope you enjoyed the game. Maybe you didn't. Among Chiefs fans who did not, my wife asked me to turn it off midway through the second quarter.
Really?
She was frustrated.
Not feeling it.
After the Mahomes interception. Yeah, we're a little frustrated.
I will admit I was second screening the game because the Packers were on at the same time.
Sure, I respect that.
Granted, my second screen is not like my phone or an iPad. I mean, it's a 30-something inch TV. Yeah, it's a full-size TV. But the Packers got the main screen treatment, and well, that was much more fun for the first 3 quarters than the last quarter. I will tell you that much. Whereas maybe the Chiefs should have gotten the main screen this weekend. But it was a big win for the Chiefs over the Jaguars. Let's hear what Andy Reid had to say about it.
All right,
we're
Max Headroom.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick pause, and now we're going to see what Andy Reid had to say. We're going to restart.
All right.
I had to do some settings changes. We got a new computer in the studio. It's new. It actually works. So it's a positive. I don't know if I ever said that on the air. The old one was really slow. And like getting the stream down during commercial breaks, kind of hit or miss every break, every day. Now it's great, but I had to re-enter all my settings. And the one that makes me sound like Max Headroom was back on. So now fixed. Let's hear from Andy Reid.
I thought, again, after watching the tape, did a nice job defensively. Offensively, we shot ourselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers. We get those straight, and you got a pretty good thing going, but we got to take care of business there. And that's something we can work on throughout the week. There's really no injuries to talk about right now. I'll get together with Rick here later today, but anyways, I'll leave that up to you. You guys fire away. Time's yours.
Hello, Coach. Thanks for the time. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of evaluating the offense through 2 games, is there a certain issue that you've pinpointed that you want to prioritize most over everything you've seen so far?
Yeah, well, I think us not making the mistakes on our side. I mean, you had 12 penalties. You had 3 turnovers. I mean, you can't do that. Or 2 turnovers, but you can't do that and normally come out with a win. I mean, so you figure that out, and we straighten it out. We should be okay. But I think as you look at it, the players look at it, and I listen to them talk. Things are there. You look at it on tape, things are there, but we're going backwards instead of forward. And if you look at percentages. Even with a 5-yard penalty, percentages of scoring on a drive with a penalty is slim to none. We've been able to do that, probably better than anybody in the league. But you're getting these multiples put together here, and that's it's too much.
Coach, I was wondering in your review of the game I know you talked a little bit about it yesterday, but after watching the film, how you felt Juwan responded to take in, take out for a brief number of plays, and then going back in, and what's giving you the sense that he can get right back on the horse and be okay here?
He's a good football player. He's naturally quick without having to cheat on that thing or get caught on it, and and he's strong, so he doesn't need to do that. And he's a smart kid. I mean, we can fix it. He's been doing this for a number of years, so. And he works extremely hard at it, but it's, once you've had 3 of them in a row or so and they don't get called and you have the same crew coming in, there are a new crew coming in, they're going to have an eye on you, and so you've got to back up. He's got to back up and start over on this and just slow it down. He's plenty quick to take care of that.
Hey, Andy, as you know, Spagnuolo told us in the couple weeks leading up to the Detroit game that the defense might be a work in progress, that maybe you guys were still figuring out some things there and that maybe it wasn't going to be quite where you wanted when the season started. But I'm thinking you're probably pretty happy with how they played through 2 games. So my question for you is, Is the defense ahead of where you thought it would be at this point? I know it's early, and if so, some of the reasons why. And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
I think Spags and the coaches, Joe, David, Flage, Brendan, I mean, they've all done just a heck of a job there. Donald, they've all done a great job there. Spags has set up and put the guys in great positions. But then the guys have an energy and a confidence that wasn't there with all the young guys last year. We didn't really know what the secondary was going to be, and the guys they're figuring it out. They figured it out at training camp, and they figured it out here these 2 games with good communication in that. So I like the way I like the physical part of it, and it was also good to get Chris back in there. He's a disruptive guy, man. And he came in with a good attitude. He got himself 34 plays, about half the game. And so it was good to have him back in there going.
Good. And one more Juwan Taylor question. He's been in the league in a few years, but never had, to my knowledge, a game like he had yesterday. How can you explain that with him?
Yeah, so well, you're gonna have a lot of eyes on you when you come here, first of all. And the week before, on the Thursday game, it was publicized and scrutinized, and so now all of a sudden you put the officials on red alert, and rightly so. It wasn't like they were off on the calls that they had on them this week. So, and it was the same crew that worked training camp. They know. They could see it there, and they saw it firsthand here. So it's they were going to call it. Juwan was aware of that. I mean, he knows, and he's got to. He tried to tame it down a little bit, but as the game went on, it got him there. So.
Hey, Andy, I just wanted to ask you about what you saw on tape from the 3rd and 6 from Patrick. Looked like he got through his progressions quite a bit. Just what did the film tell you about that play, the one late to Sky Moore?
Yeah, so defense did a pretty good job there on that. Sky was on the backside of it and continued to run. The DB, the corner that was covering him there, kind of stumbled a little bit. But the main thing was Sky continued to run and play. And quietly, Sky had a really good football game. He had some great plays. You saw the trust that Patrick has in him on the touchdown. You saw the trust he had him on that play to go find him and for Sky to get him into his vision there. So but that's kind of what it was. Pat started moving, and Sky was headed in that direction anyways. That was part of the route. But he could have easily pulled off, and he didn't. He fought like crazy to get himself in position there.
Hey, Coach, like Adam said earlier, Spags has talked about sometimes needing a first quarter of the season to figure out what he has and rotations, those kinds of things. Do you ever go through that on the offensive side too? We're so used to this offense, coming out of the box hot. But do you, with new faces, everything, sometimes going into the season, still not enough to know exactly what you have and how to best use it and what your best rotations are?
Well, I think I know what we have. We can't have the mistakes. That's so. I would tell you, I got a pretty good feel of what we have, but I don't like what we're doing. How's that? So I'm not big on turnovers, and I'm not big on penalties, and we've got too many of them right now.
Hey, Andy, I was kind of curious. The run defense was a little bit leaky in that Detroit game, but they really seemed to shore things up against a pretty good back in Travis Etienne. And obviously, some of it was the game dictating it. But the growth you're seeing there and the impact guys like George Karlaftis have, I just wonder what you see from them in the run game.
Yeah, George's hard work off of the field this offseason has helped him. He put on a little bit of weight, good weight. Worked his tail off with Tamba and so the one that kind of gets washed out on this is Nadi. I think Nadi really played a pretty good football game this past week, and and he's a stout guy in there. And then, I mean, I think that would probably be the primary thing for the run. Then the scheme and who you're going against. You have all those different matchups. So, but I thought our guys played well inside. Yeah.
And I'll have a follow-up, Brad. Travis Kelce, it was hot. I know down in Florida, he got a little bit hot. We haven't seen kind of that side of him for a while, just a combination of fighting through injuries or tough day, anything in particular that seemed to be getting under his skin?
Yeah, Travis was fighting Travis. I mean, it was hot. He was getting butched, we call it, where they try to bang you up there one way or another. And, he's trying to get back in the flow. And so he is a perfectionist, this guy. And if he feels he's off a tick, then he's going to try to battle through and get himself in the right mindset to keep fighting through it. So, and he did. You got to give him credit. He battled through the thing. He made some big catches for us. And he made it through the game after missing the first one. So, and I'm sure his leg probably didn't feel 100%, but he's not going to let you know that, and he's going to work through it, and that's what he did.
And then Kadarius Toney, we talked to him last week, and one of the things he said that you told him to just calm down. He seems to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. I'm just curious what you thought about. Was he able to calm down? Is that something he's still working on?
Unlike you and me, man, he has no fat on his body. This guy can go forever. He is high octane, and you saw that. I mean, relentless. But I think he's just getting, Seren, I think he's just getting back in the swing of this thing. I think as the game went on, I think the heat got to him a little bit, and he slowed down, but that will help him down the road here. Just a reminder on the training camp part, no training camp, nothing there. So he was fighting through that, and he wasn't on a pitch count yesterday. That he was the first game, he wasn't this game. So he'll keep working through it as we go.
That's Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and some final thoughts on the Week 2 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's got to be pretty encouraging. I mean, Chris Jones was a freak. He was one of the best defensive players in the league. PFF backs that up. I think he had the 6th highest grade of any defensive player this week.
In just half the snaps.
Right.
Played 51% of the defensive snaps.
I mean, just phenomenal work. And for Kelce, even if he wasn't quite 100%, even if the heat was bothering him or whatever, 4 for 26 and a touchdown your first game back in a game where nothing was clicking for either offense, you'll take that. That's plenty fine if you're Travis Kelce. Great start for the Chiefs, obviously, to the season. Well, I won't say great start, but you beat a good Jacksonville team, 1-0 in AFC play. That's a solid start. We'll get some final thoughts on the Chiefs coming up here on the other side of this break before we wrap up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk on this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk. Short today because of Royals baseball. Short day on Wednesday, too, because of Royals baseball. 2 day games, Monday, Wednesday this week.
Yeah, I don't know what
Kinda
that's
unique.
about. I don't know why they played a day game today. It's been all kinds of little quirks in the Royals schedule.
Bigger fan of this one than the double off day in the middle of the week or the off day Sunday this year.
That's fact.
Much bigger fan of this one. We do appreciate you hanging out with us today. Why not just put the Cleveland? Well, I know other teams have other games, but like the Cleveland game could have gone that weekend with an open Sunday.
Yeah.
They could have played the Cardinal series this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's just outrageous. We appreciate you hanging out with us, though. Don't forget, you can send us your thoughts on anything we're talking about today on the text line, 785-272-9429. And you can go check us out on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us out on YouTube. As of the show start time today, we're up to 340 subscriptions on our YouTube channel. So we continue to grow there. A lot of content. We've been a little bit slow getting stuff out to you in terms of game recaps. Dan had one from the K-State game last week. We were not in Columbia for the K-State game this week, so no recap from there. I'll be at KU coming up this week. They take on BYU. Dan will be at the K-State game as they take on UCF. That's a fun game. That's going to be a really interesting game, I think.
We know UCF will be with their backup quarterback, but it's still a Gus Malzahn offense. I watched their game against Boise State. They got a lot of speed at the skill positions. So they'll test Kansas State defense. It sounds like it's going to be without Daniel Green for this week and for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, looks like he suffered a shoulder injury against Mizzou, and he wasn't on the depth chart released today. Good news for the offense is they get Christian Duffy back, and hopefully Will Howard is no worse for the wear after he got dinged on Saturday. And K-State, I believe, an 8.5-point favorite, maybe 7.5 last I saw against UCF in the conference opener, as they'll try and get back on the right foot after a 3-point week 3 loss, just like last year.
See if they can do that. So that to say, we'll have recaps from Lawrence, a recap from Manhattan. We will hopefully have a Washburn recap as well. Plus, as always, our Chiefs instant reaction post-game show. Our one from last night, you can go find over at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube right now. And of course, we would recommend you go check it out and subscribe. We would love for you to go and see all of our video content and hang out with us in the comment section on our live stream as well. We've got 1 hour left today on 580 Sports Talk, and coming up in that final hour, we'll get to a busy day of 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a revised contract for Patrick Mahomes, Mel Tucker getting fired at Michigan State, and a lot more from around the world of sports. We will recap KU's iffy, maybe unlucky win against Nevada. We'll go into more detail about that. K-State's unfortunate loss to Missouri. I think the third member of our team a little more negative about that game than the two of us are, so we'll break that down a little bit. Plus, we'll get to the final word, your text, your comments on YouTube, all coming up next hour as well. Thanks for joining us on this shortened edition of the show, post Royals baseball. Let's get to the news. We're back after that right here on 580 WIBW. 1 hour left on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero here with you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It's a Victory Monday. The Chiefs winners. The Royals won today. KU won on Saturday. K-State did not. And we had a great high school football game on Friday night.
Yeah, we did. Great. Almost undersells it.
Yeah, we didn't do good, bad, and ugly today. Maybe we'll get to that tomorrow, just because we had the short show. Man, that's one of the best games that I have seen covering high school football. You never know what you're going to get. Because college football, you get the wackiness you don't always get in the NFL. You know, the quality of play is a little bit different, worse generally. But you get the volatility, the craziness you don't get at the pro level because you're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds generally. High school, you get a little bit of that. You get really unique offensive setups. You get kids who come out of nowhere and become stars. Shout out to Reiki Tooley, the quarterback of Shawnee Heights, because he is a star. Max Huston, the quarterback at Seaman, he's a star too. It was an incredible game. 21-point deficit. Shawnee Heights erases it, comes back, wins in overtime. That was a blast. Dan braving the elements on the sideline during that game.
That's right.
That was a lot of fun. And we've got another great one on the schedule coming up this week as well. Friday night, Washburn Rural hosting Manhattan in a 6A Centennial League matchup. That is going to be a blast. So that's coming up later this week. But lots of good football over the weekend. Appreciate all you guys who listen along, all of you who are listening along today on 580 AM, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, or on YouTube, where our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in this final hour, we'll get to our headlines here in just a second. We'll recap the KU win over Nevada, the K-State loss to Missouri as well, plus your texts, 785-272-9429, and your comments on YouTube. Again, the name of our channel is 580 Sports Talk. I almost did it again. I got really close to saying the old one. 580 Sports Talk. I hyped it so much. I was hawking that thing for so long, I couldn't help it. But 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us on YouTube. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get right into them for today. Number one, we mentioned this at the top of the show, but Patrick Mahomes, restructured contract with the Chiefs. No new years, so it is still the same deal overall with the same total money that he signed back in 2020. No shorter, no longer, but they have restructured his deal. And now, between the years 2023 and 2026, Patrick Mahomes will make $210.6 million. That is an NFL record for the most money given to a single player in a 4-year span. And that money is now guaranteed. No rolling guarantees. No, well, we can convert it. No, that money is locked in, solid, guaranteed to Patrick Mahomes. He's going to get it up front. New NFL record. And the Chiefs and Mahomes are going to, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN, revisit the deal again after 2026. So this really does work out for everyone, I think. I think Mahomes, you deserve to get that money up front. He deserves to be the highest paid player in the league. I know it's always whoever's next is, the one who gets to be the highest paid player. It was Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow had a turn, and someone else had a turn this year too. Justin Herbert had a turn for a few weeks. Mahomes gets to be there now, but he really is the best player in the NFL. He really is the best quarterback in the league, one of the greatest of all time already. He deserves to have that spot. And this benefits the Chiefs too, because let's say, some other young quarterback gets their new contract and they're a star. Trevor Lawrence is going to be next, right? Lawrence is going to be the next one.
Yeah, probably.
When he gets that money, you don't have to worry about, it might just be another 2 years before we have to renegotiate this again. No, this is an agreement beyond both sides saying, hey, look, we will wait until 2026 at the earliest. We'll revisit it then. This deal is locked in for now. Chiefs, you don't have to worry about it. Your money is set. You know what your cap is going to look like. That's all ready to go. You save a little money against the cap this year, in fact, to create some space. Meanwhile, at Mahomes, you get your money up front. That's the significance here for this Patrick Mahomes deal. I do want to point this out, and it's so – there are a couple of people in particular in the football media who follow this and have really been on top of this for reasons that are I don't know, beyond the scope of my understanding. Andrew Brandt is one of them. I think Andrew Brandt is a really smart guy, been around football for decades, usually has good opinions on things. He also has not really hidden it that he has tried to get a job with the Players Association for a long time and advocates for players to an extreme degree, which is fine. No problem with that. Players deserve to get their fair share. I get it. But he puts out a tweet a little bit earlier this afternoon, and almost exactly 1 hour ago, where he talks about the average money that Mahomes is going to make over the next 3 years and the average money for other quarterback contracts and extensions, et cetera, and adds on this is still far behind lesser quarterback peers. He and Mike Florio have talked about this before. Mike Florio loves to talk about this because he thinks he's like a Eugene V. Debs, I guess, when it comes to quarterback money. Like he thinks he's some sort of leader of a labor movement here, even though he doesn't even understand football, let alone contracts. But he's been all up in arms about how Mahomes is underpaid and all this. Look, it ain't my money. I don't really care about that. This is cool for Patrick Mahomes. And again, it's nice for the Chiefs that they now know this is what our salary cap is going to look like going forward, which then affects us because that's something we'll talk about come March when free agents are getting signed. Okay. So sure, there's an ecosystem there, but like this is not my money. This does not affect me. This is in no way going to change anything for your boy. So I'm not really going to be upset that Patrick Mahomes is making $100,000 less annually per year than Lamar Jackson or whatever. I mean, that does nothing for me.
Albert Breer has a great anecdote in his article. I think this was just published about the contract.
Oh, yeah. That
the Friday night before the Super Bowl this year, Patrick Mahomes' agent, Chris Cabot, texted the Chiefs just to say, hey, what do you say we redo the contract after this is all done? After, what's about to happen happens.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say we revisit this? So this is an idea that's been percolating literally about the entire calendar year. And that is no great surprise. And the working relationship between agent and player and ownership and general manager continues to be good enough that it's just the kind of thing that you can take your time on, which the Chiefs did. There was no hard end date deadline on this.
Mm-hmm.
They took their time. They got it done. They cleared a couple $1 million in cap space should they need to make a move this season to add an additional contract if that's what they desire. And I think that the fact that it is a unique and positive relationship, I mean, it definitely runs counter to how Lamar Jackson got his money,
mm-hmm.
right?
No, big time.
So it's a win-win all the way around, obviously. And the Chiefs are going to do whatever they can to ensure that Patrick Mahomes never wears another uniform.
Good. That should be the case.
Right.
Let me tell you something, okay? Because I have some personal experience with this. It's not worth it. Like, just when you've got a good thing going, ride that good thing for as long as you can, okay? Don't let it get to a point where your quarterback is feuding with the team publicly. I've lived through it twice, all right? It ain't fun. Take care of your guy. They are clearly willing to work with the Chiefs as well, which is good because not everybody's willing to do that. Look at baseball. We bring up Scott Boras all the time, right? It's not about that if you're a Scott Boras client. It is about I'm getting every single penny that I can for my client and thus for me, which fine. If that's your business, that's fine. But this is a almost unique situation that the Chiefs are in where, hey, we're going to take care of our guy. They're going to work with us. We're going to come to these mutually beneficial agreements and everybody wins. And that's a really nice spot for the Chiefs to be in. And now Patrick Mahomes can say he's got another NFL record under his belt.
All right, let's continue our headlines. Take a look at some injury notes from the NFL. Perhaps the biggest injury is to Saquon Barkley, the star running back of the New York Giants. The Giants were down 20-0 to the Arizona Cardinals at halftime of Sunday's game and rallied to win the game 31-28. Shout out to the Giants, stirring comeback. The Cardinals, I don't know how many of them took the bus to the game, but maybe just didn't have enough fire in their belly there in the second half. Word to Coach Kendall Roy. But But Saquon Barkley got hurt late in that
Yeah.
game, and it's a sprained ankle, and it sounds like it's going to cost him at least 3 weeks. That's the timeline that's been put on it to this point. Another running back suffered an injury yesterday. That was Detroit's David Montgomery. He's got a thigh bruise, had to leave their overtime loss to the Seahawks. That injury is expected to cost him a couple of weeks as well. Should mean more action for Jahmyr Gibbs, who saw his involvement in the offense increase from week 1 to week 2. So a couple of injuries there that are of note. Boy, the Giants, if the Giants had lost that game, you never want to say that 0-2 is a season ender, especially for a team that made the playoffs the season before. But they were scoreless for the first 6 quarters of the season. That really might have been it for the Giants.
Yeah.
So they've turned it around and they've salvaged something. And now they're 1-1, which, I mean, you look at their schedule, that's probably a fair 1-1 because the other game was against a Cowboys team that's better than they are.
Sure.
So they can move forward, feel a little okay, but it's going to be a lot harder without the real best player on their offense.
You know who probably wishes he had a little bit more money right now?
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. Yeah, that's tough. That's brutal. Fantasy dudes love that David Montgomery is not going to play. Not because they were necessarily rooting for injuries, although I definitely saw fantasy weirdos rooting for injuries
Fantasy
on Twitter.
weirdos love to root for injuries.
Yeah,
yes.
they do. They don't actually love football. Well, this is a discussion for a different topic.
Yes, their favorite team is their fantasy team.
Yeah. No David Montgomery for the Lions means more Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, which is probably a good thing for them going forward. If it wasn't going to be a Wally Pipp situation, he was probably just going to get the call eventually anyway. He looks like he's the real deal. He looks like he is as good as advertised. And I can understand the Lions' approach that they just drafted who they thought were the best football players regardless of position. It's kind of the zig when everyone else is zagging approach, which is fine. And so far, their top couple of picks look like they're pretty good. I mean, Gibbs looks like a player. Jack Campbell looks like a player. Same with Sam Laporta, the tight end. Same with Brian Branch, who's had a really good start, or at least in week 1 had a good start.
Yeah, Laporta in particular was unbelievable yesterday.
Yeah, man, he was my
tackles.
He was my second favorite tight end in the class, and I'm not surprised he was the second one taken. He's a darn good player.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be more than Jahmyr Gibbs. So if you're a fantasy player and you drafted him in the second round or whatever he was going, you're probably pretty thrilled with that news.
2 other injury notes that are worth mentioning here. Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson is headed to injured reserve ahead of the Steelers Monday night game tonight against Cleveland. So that is their wide receiver 1. He's going to miss at least the next 4 games. And Joe Burrow's status for week 3 is up in the air. Re-aggravated that calf injury in their loss to Baltimore. And Zach Taylor says it's, quote, hard to say at this point whether or not Burrow will be ready to go Monday night when Cincinnati is back in action against the Los Angeles Rams.
I don't want to be overreactionary here because if the Bengals lose Burrow for any period of time, they're done. Maybe they slip into the playoffs so they get kind of lucky, but in that division, that's a lot of losses staring you in the face. They got a tough schedule this year. And I know you don't want to waste what might be your last year with T. Higgins, but like that's the franchise. You sold the naming rights to Paul Brown Stadium, the guy who founded your team and is one of the most important and influential coaches in the history of the sport, because you needed to make sure you had cash on hand to pay this dude his contract.
Yes.
And deservedly. He deserves it. I'd put him on IR, man. I mean, if he can go on Monday, well, then great. It's not that bad. But if it's bad enough that he's going to miss a week or even a couple weeks, just take the roster spot and put him on IR for 4 weeks. You know who else had a calf injury during training camp and then had one bad step and now he's done for the year? A future Hall of Fame quarterback who the Jets season was hinging on. Because, by the way, they ain't going anywhere with Zach Wilson. Yuck. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
He stinks.
Terrible. I get that you don't want to waste the time because you've got this roster and this is the last year they're going to have this offensive talent because Higgins is gone. I don't think there's any way they can keep all these guys together, or they keep Higgins and then one more year and Chase is gone. It's one way or the other in all likelihood. I get not wanting to waste that, but man, you cannot mess with the franchise. You just cannot do it.
Jake Browning is the backup quarterback for the Bengals, by the way, if you were wondering.
You dub legend.
He has completed as many NFL passes as you and me combined, partner.
Ooh. Ooh, that's not great. He's bounced around a little bit.
Not what you want. 0-2 against a Rams team that looks rejuvenated with future Hall of Famer Puka Nacua getting 20 targets a week.
Yeah, man. He is
maybe Cooper Kupp was the system player.
It's possible. It is certainly possible.
And they just plugged in a new Cooper Kupp.
Alternately, because Nacua was with them last year on IR, right? I think he was on IR all year.
He didn't play.
Yeah, he definitely didn't play. Maybe he just picked up all of Kupp's stuff. All of their receivers look exactly the same. And I'm not trying to make this like, oh, white wide receivers. I'm not trying to make it a joke, but like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, similar. And then Ben Skoranek. Ben Skoranek is just Cooper Kupp, but worse.
Yeah, they
look identical.
They've got a type.
But they're good. Like, they've turned Ben Skoranek, who I thought was going to be an accountant when he left Notre Dame and Northwestern, turned him into a legit NFL player. Nacua was in college for 14 years. He's apparently a star.
Mm-hmm.
Most catches ever in the first 2 games for a first-year player.
There are 2 coaches who are better than anybody else at scheming dudes open, and they are Kyle Shanahan, as we know, and Sean McVay is the other one. And the difference is the dudes that Shanahan is scheming wide open are capital D dudes.
Yeah, freaks.
And the guys that Sean McVay has been scheming open for years are mostly just randos.
They're accountants named Ben Skoranek.
Like, he can do it with random. We have no idea if Kyle Shanahan can do it with randos, but we know that Sean McVay can do it with some randos.
Because even when Shanahan was in Atlanta as their offensive coordinator, choking away Super Bowls, well, Matt Ryan won an MVP. They had Julio Jones. They had Roddy White when he was at his peak. They had a lot of talent.
To be fair, though, we don't know if Sean McVay can do it with the level of quarterback play the 49ers have had in recent years, because Sean McVay's had a former number 1 pick, Jared Goff, who I think we could call like comfortably an average NFL quarterback.
Who are you taking, Goff or Garoppolo?
Goff.
Dan Lucero is taking Jared Goff in that battle. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. But he went to Detroit and he's made a shake.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's true.
Like, I think he's matured into like a guy who can, complete the pass to the open receiver.
That's fair.
And doesn't make, like, he threw a pick 6 yesterday. That was his first interception in a long time.
Yeah. Then Jimmy is who he has been forever, which is, I mean, he's played for a long time, but no, it's the same guy he's ever been. I didn't give McVay enough credit. And I like Sean McVay. I did not give them nearly enough credit this offseason. I think he is probably in the same vein as not that he and Tomlin are the same kind of coach, but I sort of feel like as long as McVay is around, his team is never going to be terrible. I mean, the worry about is Matt Stafford's arm going to fall off at any moment, I think is still probably present. Also, he had a neck injury last year, which you don't usually recover from without your wife ordering steroids. Hi, Peyton. But he's such a good coach. Such a good coach. They're kind of frisky, the Rams are. I don't know that they're good, but they're kind of frisky for sure. Next headline for us on our 580 Sports Talk headlines, Mel Tucker. You are out of here at Michigan State, or at least in the near future.
Tuck going.
Look, this hire was stupid in the first. Well, the hire was okay. The hire was whatever. The extension was stupid.
So Michigan State got a little over their skis, as many schools before them and many after them have done and will do. They got excited about a surprisingly outstanding season. What was that, 2021? Yeah, 2021. The Kenneth Walker, the third year, essentially.
Yeah.
So Mel Tucker comes over from Colorado after just one season as a head coach there. By the way, a lot of celebrating going on in Boulder.
Oh, I bet.
But now more reason to celebrate in Boulder that you didn't have to deal with what this guy ended up doing. Anyhow,
okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tucker came to Michigan State in 2020.
Yes,
he 2020 blew up in 21.
Yes, 2020 was his first year, and that was when CU had to hire Carl Durrell. Had to, but that was bad. But then 2021, yes, Michigan State was surprisingly outstanding. They had rebuilt their roster in the transfer portal in a big way. Mel Tucker had correctly identified Kenneth Walker III as being good at football and just gave him the ball as much as possible. And Michigan State beat Michigan, and they had a bunch of really big wins in 2021. And Mel Tucker got a $95 million contract extension in the middle of his third year as a head coach. $95 million. There are, as of this day, $79 million left on his contract. And Mel Tucker, if Michigan State has their way, won't see a dime because he behaved inappropriately with a sexual assault survivor and advocate.
I mean, he's a creep, to say the very least. That's not as nice as you can be about this. And then the defiance after the fact. I mean, just throw him out.
The letter is circulating that Michigan State has sent to Mel Tucker and his representation. Essentially, they have notified him that they are going to terminate him with cause. And Mel Tucker has 7 days to respond and try and say, no, you shouldn't be able to fire me for cause because of this, this, and this. But the letter makes it very clear that Michigan State's in pretty good standing to terminate with cause, because the stuff that Mel Tucker admitted to, like the undisputed facts of the allegations or the investigation into his behavior with, again, sexual assault survivor and advocate Brenda Tracy, the undisputed facts, the stuff that Mel Tucker has admitted to doing, is perfectly sufficient to terminate someone for cause.
It's just, it's so gross. It's so infuriating. Like, the gall to think you could get away with this and it was just okay. And to admit all the things he admitted, it's just disgusting. So he is out. He is going to be fired. The Michigan State athletic director, what's the name here? Alan Haller, issued a statement today on the employment of Mel Tucker. Quote, I, with the support of administration and board, have provided Mel Tucker with written notice of intent to terminate his contract for cause. This notification process is required as part of his existing contract. The notice provides Tucker with 7 calendar days to respond and present reasons to me and the interim president as to why he should not be terminated for cause. That's very funny, actually. Like, you're fired. You can try to convince us not to fire you, but you're fired.
Yes.
You mentioned Colorado is happy he's gone, and there's a lot of victory laps going on, as there should be. I think there are victory laps everywhere. He's not a good coach. Like, he was the defensive coordinator of the statistical worst NFL defense of the year 2014 for the Chicago Bears. The last time Georgia wasn't like Georgia, he was their defensive coordinator. Colorado was not exactly, beating doors down when he was there. And 2 of his 3 seasons so far at Michigan State, they have been butt. And now they're on their way to being butt again. Because I don't know if you saw any of Washington versus Michigan State, because it was hidden on Peacock. It looked like they didn't even want to be there. And I know he wasn't on the sideline. It looked like they didn't even care.
So the entirety of Mel Tucker's career as a head coach, which you have to assume is over with this termination. Nobody else is going to hire him to run their program ever again. He went 5-7 in his lone season at Colorado. And I remember people who I know who are Colorado fans were fired up to go 5-7 with a coach who wore shorts on the sideline when it snowed, because that's been the state of Colorado football. If you don't believe me, look how excited they are about 3 wins this year, essentially. Like, they're dying for it in Boulder. And 5-7 looked really promising and really exciting. And then he bolted in a way that was like, it was late in the cycle, because Michigan State had fired Mark D'Antonio for basically presiding over an environment where there were like players who were recruited to that program that were bad guys, like committed rape on campus, got arrested a bunch of times. Like, Mark D'Antonio oversaw a program that had a lot of problems. By the way, who did Michigan State bring back to the sideline last week to try and steer the ship while all this goes down with Mel Tucker? That's right, Mark D'Antonio. Anyway, I say all that to say this. He left in a very shady way, to the point where Colorado fans and journalists took to calling him Midnight Mel, because he left, like, again, so late in the cycle. They called him Midnight Mel Tucker. Boy, how right they were. They had no idea. Anyway, Michigan State goes 2-5 in the COVID year. Whatever. It's a COVID year. It doesn't count. 11-2 and 9th in the country, and won the Peach Bowl, the Kenneth Walker, the 3rd year. Last year, they went 5-7. They and they weren't good. Like, they were a bad football team last year that went 5-7. And this year they're 2-1, and like, did not, like, they were nobody's idea of a Big Ten contender. They had obviously taken steps back, and had they gone 5-7 again this year, which I think is a pretty likely outcome, frankly, for Michigan State, there are going to be a lot of people wondering, man, how can we get out from under that $95 million or that $70-odd million we still owe this guy? Well, Mel Tucker gave you an out.
Matt Campbell?
Boy, I don't know. Did you see what Iowa State did Saturday?
Yeah.
It might be like
They scored 7 points and lost at Ohio. And then he tried to fight a fan.
Yeah.
Which is worse than any of that.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't handle a Joe Schmo who made the trip, he was an Iowa State fan who made the trip to Athens, Ohio, to say, hey, Matt, figure it out. You're on the hot seat. And Campbell loses his mind, screaming at the dude, had to be restrained by his own players. Dude, if you can't handle that, you should not be coaching anywhere, dog. Well, you got high school coaches here in the city that hear worse than that at games. By the way, don't yell at coaches or players. But, like, you got to grow up, pal.
So Campbell obviously, like, hit the ceiling for Iowa State football in the COVID year. And the anticipation is that would be the new normal. And actually, no, there's 100 years of evidence that the normal for Iowa State is what it is, and there's no changing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the ceiling is just the ceiling. Sometimes it's not the roof. Sometimes the sky is not the limit. Sometimes the ceiling is the ceiling, and you bump your head on it, and you're back down on the floor. And that's where Matt Campbell is. Should have taken that Ohio State job when he had the chance.
Can I put a real quick bow on the Mel Tucker talk?
Yes.
We were chatting during the commercial break. There's a trend on Twitter today of Google searching your Twitter handle and seeing what articles or other places online where people have shared your tweets, where you've popped up. From September 18th, 2022, exactly 1 year ago today, I had a tweet featured in a 247sports.com article called Mel Tucker's contract extension criticized by media after Michigan State's 39-28 loss at Washington, in which I tweeted, quote, in a touching tribute to when he was the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator, Mel Tucker's defense gave up a ton of points and they lost. 1 year to the day.
You've done better tweets.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice work.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that one.
From the text line, and we appreciate those who text the program, 785-272-9429. One text from the 785 regarding Tucker says, at the very minimum, he showed incredibly poor judgment. At the worst, he deserves everything coming. This does, however, have some smell of Michigan State regretting the contract and finding the way out of it. Well, I think you're made to regret the contract when your program becomes a laughingstock because your head coach says, this woman that I am not married to and I would just have a little phone sex. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
This person that we were doing business with, a vendor, essentially. This person that we were in business with, we were just having a little phone sex. That's no big deal, right? This woman that I'm not married to, in contrast to the woman that Mel Tucker is, for now, actually married to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like when you bring disrepute to the university in that way, that's all the excuse anyone needs. And we know that if Michigan State had gone 11-2 and gone to the Peach Bowl last year, maybe the calculation is a little different, maybe. But man, he really, really really embarrassed Michigan State. And Michigan State, well, clearly with regards to Mark D'Antonio, they don't embarrass as easily as they should. But being little brother in the state of Michigan, they do embarrass.
Any other headlines for you today?
Yeah, we should get to one more from the world of college football. Speaking of the team that plays where Mel Tucker used to coach in Boulder, Colorado, this is a big injury note from college football. One of the most dynamic top talents in all of college football will miss time due to injury. Colorado star wide receiver / defensive back Travis Hunter lacerated his liver when he was hit late, and I mean late, by Colorado State safety Hunter Blackburn in the Rocky Mountain Showdown on Saturday. Hunter returned to the game initially, but in the first half when the injury occurred, but later left the game and left the stadium, was taken to the hospital. Apparently he'll be released tomorrow as they continue to monitor his situation. I don't know that a lacerated liver is a 3-week injury, but at the bare minimum, that means that Hunter will miss Colorado's games against nationally ranked Oregon and USC, along with a game against Arizona State in 3 weeks. Colorado has their bye after that. So hopefully he can be back after the bye, but awful injury, awful play, completely unnecessary hit by Hunter Blackburn. Should have been ejected from the game. It was wholly unnecessary. But my remark that I made while watching that game and watching the you know what show it was at times, largely precipitated by Colorado State, who committed 10 personal fouls in the game, and had their best defensive player ejected from the game for targeting in overtime. That when the adults in charge spend the entire week of a game treating it like professional wrestling, the 18 to 23-year-olds in their purview that they are in charge of are going to treat it like pro wrestling when you get around to Saturday. And sometimes that means kids a little overamped and he hits somebody late. I'm not excusing the behavior. I'm just saying that's a weapon that was cocked and fired by head coach Jay Norvell. And I think that was shameful and marred what was otherwise a wonderfully entertaining college football game. And if you stayed up for it, you're my kind of sicko, because that game ended past 1:30 Central Time on a Sunday morning.
And you're my kind of sicko if you stayed up and had that on your second screen, because you had KU Nevada on the main screen. We're going to talk some more college football on the other side of this timeout. We owe you a break. Also, one more headline after this timeout involving one of the more famous KU alumni in the sports world. Some good news, hopefully. Let's get to that coming up on the other side of this break here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk. That headline I was teasing right before the commercial break, an update from Gary Woodland's family and team following surgery. If you remember from, it was either last week or the week before, Gary dealing with some health issues, but we do have a brief update from Team GW on Twitter. After a long surgery today, the majority of the tumor has been removed, and he, Gary, is currently resting. At this time, the family requests space and privacy to be together. Thank you all for your thoughts and prayers as he gets started on the road to recovery. Signed, Team GW. It was surgery to remove a lesion that was found on Gary's brain. That was the update from August 30th, so a little further back than I had remembered. Again, best wishes, nothing but prayers and good vibes sent to Gary, his wife, their kids, and the entire Woodland family. Means a lot to this city, means a lot to the KU community, has been very kind with us with his time over the years as well, and wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is scary, but I know he had the best doctors helping him out, and hopefully he is back on the course as soon as possible. Do we start with the KU win or the K-State loss this weekend?
Start with the good news.
All right.
And we'll start with the KU win because it was such a strange game, because if you just looked at the stats, it was Kansas domination. They moved the ball however they wanted to move the ball. Devin Neal was immense. There were a couple of drives where it felt like, all right, Jalen Daniels feeling maybe a little too froggy.
That's how I felt in the first quarter and into the second, because the first drive, surgical. He goes 5 for 5 for 60 yards.
Mhm.
Neal runs the ball well. They go right down the field, and I thought, oh my God, they're gonna hit sim to end at halftime. Like, they're not even gonna play the second half of this one. And then the second drive, I thought, all right, Jalen, like, I know you guys are a lot better, but just make the right throws, do the simple stuff.
Mhm.
It'll be fine. And then there was another drive of that. And then I was like, hey, what are we doing? And then Nevada scored. And then Nevada scored again. And it was, what are we doing?
Yeah, it stayed close throughout the game. And Nevada does deserve some credit for that. Their quarterback was mobile and gave KU some problems. In the quarterback running game, they were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively. They were also incredibly fortunate to recover every fumble in the game.
5 recovered fumbles by the offense. How is that? How?
That's more about good fortune than it is about skill, if we're being completely honest there. And
hell, the last one, KU did recover it, but the first player to touch it was out of bounds.
yeah, I don't know what Hayden Hatcher was thinking there. I mean, it was his only drive that he played because he was a little banged up and he probably a little overexcited. But what I'll credit KU with is a lot of times when you're in that spot where you are a heavy favorite and then you're not blowing the other team out. In fact, you're tied, you're in a ball game in the fourth quarter, especially if you're not really used to winning, you can panic.
Yeah. And
panic didn't set in with Kansas. They just, especially in the fourth quarter, it was a lot of, all right, well, let's just go do what we do. Let's get Jalen in a rhythm. Let's get Devin Neal in a rhythm, and let's go down and score. And let's just see how long they can keep up. And 24 points was the limit as to how much Nevada could keep up. Kansas got a couple of stops there late, and they ended up winning the game by a touchdown. So what I will say that is positive for Kansas out of that one is they did not panic, that game was unexpectedly close for the majority of it, and they got out of there with a win. And they didn't cover, so what?
Yeah.
Sometimes road game, late kick, just get out of there with the win and get on to Big 12 play and get out of there with without further injury. And they appear to have done that. So,
and they were not the only big favorite who didn't cover the spread this weekend, which is obviously, so, I lost money. Big whoop. I did that a bunch this weekend. I thought some individual efforts really did stand out. Austin Booker got a little too jacked up when he got back in the game, coming back after missing the first half due to the targeting call against Illinois. Defensively, I didn't think it was a great game. They stepped up big late at the very end of the game. They needed to make plays. They did. I thought Daniels was okay. His stats looked really good for the game. I thought overall he was okay. Devin Neal is not just a great college running back. That dude is playing his way into maybe not being a day 2 draft pick, but the early part of day 3 next year, and not like a round 7 UDFA kind of guy. The play where I'm going to get real technical for 1 second. It was kind of a dagger concept. The KU ran a couple of vertical routes, one from the slot, one from the boundary, and they had Neal slide out of the backfield and just squirt through the line and then take off on a wheel route. Daniels rolls the pocket to the right, throws back. Nobody is around Devin Neal. So the completion itself, fairly easy. But to finish that play, you got literally everything an NFL team wants to see from a running back. Made an adjustment and caught a ball. Wasn't just a check down. He actually had to make a downfield adjustment and catch a ball. Check. He waited for a tight end to come over and set the block. Patient running. Check. He showed off more lateral quickness and that's been a progressive thing this season. Lateral quickness to get by a couple of defenders. Check. And then speed to get it all the way down to the 1 yard line, only getting outrun by a cornerback at the very last second. Speed. Check. That's an NFL player right there. And he's been good since he was a true freshman. He's not just good. He is legitimately, in my opinion, the best running back in the Big 12 right now, which is There's a lot of good running backs in the Big 12, but I think he is at the very least as hot as any of them right now.
I'm struggling to think of one I'd clearly take over him. Like I don't think that like Texas or Oklahoma have that guy. Yeah. I think he's probably that guy for me too.
Yeah, it was a more stressful game than it should have been.
Yes.
But taking a step back from it and seeing, hey, look, 0 for 5 recovering fumbles on defense. You win pretty much every statistical category. All your stars still put up big games. Quentin Skinner was awesome. Luke Grimm was a little banged up, but he was pretty good too. Mason Fairchild, the Andale product, he had a big day. So overall, hard to be too upset about that. Why don't we get to a quick commercial break? We'll come back and we will talk about K-State and a tough loss to maybe a better Missouri team than we were giving them credit for. That's after this on 580 Sports Talk. K-State falls this weekend to Missouri. And look, I mean, the story was almost Eli Drinkwitz has an old smelly popcorn kernel for a brain because he bungled the end of that game unbelievably so.
It's still funny that they took that delay game. I know Harrison Mevis made the 61-yarder that ended up winning the game immediately following and would have gotten to try from 56 because K-State somehow sent two dudes wearing number 8 out onto the field at the same time for the field goal, which not a great coaching look from the other sideline. But still, it was extremely funny that they acted like they had a timeout. And then with like 2 seconds left on the play clock, we're like, oh, shoot, go, kick it, go. It was very funny as it was happening. It's still funny now, regardless of how it ended up.
So the 61-yard field goal is the lasting moment in memory and the fans rushing the field and all of that. All in all, like, I was probably more impressed by the way Brady Cook played than anything. And I mean, I was tossing trash his way all last week. So, hand up on that. He balled out. And credit to him for that.
Every Mizzou person we talked to expressed doubts about Brady Cook's ability to do what he did on Saturday. About the Missouri's offense, Missouri offense's ability to be what it was on Saturday, which was explosive, chunk plays, the deep ball. It was a factor. It's very clear. Mizzou held some things back for the first 2 weeks of the season and threw the kitchen sink at Kansas State. And Kansas State didn't play it all perfectly. There were a couple of coverage busts, notably on the first touchdown to Luther Burden, the second touchdown to Burden, bad tackling angles. Like, that should not have been a touchdown. No. I know Burden's awesome, but there's no way that should have been a touchdown. Definitely some things in the secondary that Kansas State is going to have to clean up. They looked for the first time all year like that young and inexperienced group that we feared that they might be coming into the year. But I think that's, again, you have to give Mizzou credit, as much as that stings to do if you're a K-State fan, because they emptied the cabinet and they threw everything they had at Kansas State, everything in their playbook. And there were some plays later in the game where Kansas State got the coverage right, and Mizzou made the play. Cook made the throw, made the bucket throw, and Mizzou's receivers made the contested catch. They made a lot of plays. Kansas State made a lot of plays too. Will Howard threw the pick. That's not great. 3 in 3 weeks. You'd like to see him get that cleaned up.
Yeah.
They're pressuring him on those third down and longs, and so K-State's having a little trouble with those. But also Howard, outside of the pick, and considering he was dealing with an injury in the second half, was really good otherwise, and kind of got let down by some drops and some penalties in the second half. I thought he was really good. I thought that defensively, again, the pass rush, when they brought heat, it got home and rattled Cook in the second half and limited Mizzou in the second half. Sometimes football games are won and lost on the margins, and the marginal stuff went Mizzou's way. The turnover, there was one turnover in a game. Mizzou made it and kicked a field goal. 3 points on the turnover, difference in the game. Both teams had long field goals for their kickers with big legs. Like, Chris Tennant's got a huge leg.
Yeah.
And he just got under that 54-yarder. Kicked it about 53 yards. Just missed it. Harrison Mevis didn't miss his from 61. Like, he lost a 61-yarder at the gun in the rain. Like, there's a certain amount of tipping of your cap I think you have to do to Mizzou in this case. I think it was more about them and the marginal stuff than it was, oh, wait, K-State stinks now. Because we were here 1 year ago after week 3, after they lost at home to Tulane, and we wondered a lot of the same stuff that people were yelling about coming out of Saturday's game. The third down play calling was terrible. There were some coaching decisions that were suboptimal. The secondary didn't play well enough. The offensive line's not dominating like it should. All the stuff that we were talking about coming out of Mizzou, we were talking about coming out of Tulane last year. Did they fix that? Yup. Can they fix it again? Yup.
And honestly, as much as I hate to give any credit to the University of Missouri, frankly, they played a really good game. And Drinkwitz, aside from the end of game bungling, I don't think was particularly terrible. And look, I think the Tulane loss last year was worse than this loss this year. Missouri is a Power 5 team. They're an SEC team. You had to go on the road. You lost on a 61-yard field goal, like you said, at the gun. This isn't sleepwalking through a game like that Tulane game was. And Tulane ended up being good, but they sleptwalked through that game. And I think I bet you players in that team would tell you that last year. I think K-State's going to be just fine. You would have liked to have started 3-0 through non-conference play, but they'll be fine. Jake wrote in our show notes today, KSU plays like crap and stunk. I disagree with that.
No, I don't think it was
that's the case at all.
It wasn't an A+, but it sure wasn't an F-.
No, I think a B- game when Missouri played an A.
Yeah. He plays C+ game. The other team, threw the kitchen sink at you and won by 3. And you know what?
Their dudes are on scholarship too.
Yes, and good players. They had the best player on the field in Luther Burden. And it hurt to lose that game if you're a K-State fan, and it felt really good, obviously, to win that game if you're a Mizzou fan. Those are the kinds of games you should be playing in the non-con every year. I hope that series gets renewed again very soon.
I agree. K-State, Nebraska next? Yes, please. Let's get to a quick break. Final words next on 580 Sports Talk. We got to wrap up 580 Sports Talk with a quick final word, Dan.
Quick final word for me. It's not a season wrecker, that Kansas State loss. It's a gut punch. It hurts. It hurts because it's Mizzou, and it's a team you actually care about playing, unlike some of the teams that are even in your conference anymore. But it's not a season wrecker. They fixed it after a week 3 loss last year. They'll fix it after this one, and they'll get right for UCF.
My final word today is that I think it was entirely fair and frankly appropriate to think Chris Jones wouldn't be his full self in week 2 after not having played any real football in 7 months. So for him to go out and play like that should have you really freaking encouraged if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan about your team's defense. We're back tomorrow with a full show from 2 to 6. Matt Verderam and Michael Swain will join us. We'll have the full crew back with you. For Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Thanks for listening to 580 Sports Talk.